Red Lanterns number 18, written by Peter Milligan, art by Miguel Sepulveda. This is another tie-in to Wrath of the First Lantern, and boy oh boy does it show. So, we open up with the First Lantern just talking to Atrocitus. Reminder, last issue he was going after something like the heart of emotion or something like that, which is apparently where the Guardians stored their emotional well-being. But First Lantern shows up and he's like, "Hi, I'm the First Lantern. You're in one of my tie-ins, so I'm just going to bound you up in my weird little vein thingies, and we're going to look at the points in your life that could have gone differently." And Atrocitus is like, "No, I'm not a plaything for you." And he's like, "Okay, yeah, sure, whatever, buddy. Anyway, let's go back to what is obviously the point that we're going to change here, which is the moment that the Manhunters attacked your planet." And so he goes back and says, "All right, what if, call me crazy here, what if the Manhunters didn't attack your planet? What would have happened then?" And we see that on this timeline, Atros, not Atrocitus, Atros became, disillusioned with the government, very angry, led a revolution, and basically took over the government of Ryut and installed himself as a revolutionary. And the First Lantern's like, I mean, you did pretty good. You said, power to the people. And that lasted for maybe, a week. And then all of a sudden, you gave in to the power. And you became this dictator who saw traitors in every corner. And you had them executed and whatnot. Until one day, your wife comes in. And she starts chewing you out. Because you are clearly living the high life. Banging hookers. Smoking weed. And you basically hit her in front of your son. And Atrocitus is like, "I would never do that. That doesn't sound like me at all." And he's like, you're kind of a dick, Atros. That's kind of the one thing that stays constant here. So either way, after that, you get even more wrapped up in your dictatorship. And you, at this point, put on a show trial framing your wife as one of the traitors so that you can kill her and continue to sleep with hookers and smoke your weed. And Atros is like, "I would never kill my wife." And he's like, "I'm just showing you exactly what. I'm not saying that you did, but I'm saying you kind of did." At this point, there's the secondary storyline of Rancor has gone to Earth. He's made a construct to make himself look human, and he has wooed this one girl by breaking the arm of an assailant upon her, and they're just having a nice little picnic, and he's zoning out because he's like, "I have to tell her I'm a monster underneath it all." And she's like, "What's wrong?" And he's like, "Nothing, I'll tell you later." So then they go back, and as they're arriving, he's like, "Okay, I gotta tell you the truth because I do really like you and I want this to work." And she's like, "Oh, it's fine as long as you didn't murder someone or anything." He's like, so as they get into his apartment, her apartment, kind of unclear, Bleez is there. And Bleez is like, "Hey, Rancor, I think you should probably ditch this bitch and get back to what we were here for." And she's just like, "Rancor, what are you?" And she looks over and Rancor's construct is faded away. And she's like, "Oh my god, you're a monster. Stay away. Just get away from me." So that'll get resolved at some point. But anyway, back to the Atros story. So he's at the height of his power. He's taken over most of the planet. He barely thinks about his murdered wife. And then all of a sudden, Atros is shot in the chest from behind. And it turns out it's his own son who's killing him out of just spite for having murdered his mother. So at that point, First Lantern's like, "Wow, it wasn't that crazy." Anyway, I've kind of given everybody the choice before as to whether or not they want that world or this world. So you basically have to make the choice of, do you want your family to hate you, but your planet is not destroyed by the Manhunters, or do you want to stay in this world where your planet is destroyed by the Manhunters? And so Atrocitus is like, "Okay, killed by my own son? Nah, not a fan of that. Anything is worth that, even the entire planet being destroyed." And so he breaks out of the First Lantern's bonds. And the First Lantern's like, "All right, so you have made the conscious decision to let your planet be destroyed. That's on you now, bud. Anyway, I'm just going to go steal that heart thing, the great heart I'm gonna go take that now. And he's like, oh, actually, I was planning on using that to against the Guardians. So can I use that? And he's like, oh, no. See, now that I have all of this emotional energy, it's basically going to get me up to the full power I needed. So he just swallows it, he disappears, and he's like, oh, and by the way, remember, this is all your fault. And he disappears. And so the Manhunters were there looking at him. He's like, Master, we cool? And Atrocitus hops onto his ring, and he's like, all right, every Red Lantern, listen up. I have found the person who is responsible for the destruction of my planet, and I order you all to attack this person and kill them on sight. This person is me. And that's where it leaves off. Atrocitus really doesn't think very far forward, does he? I guess that's kind of the point of rage. Like, you're just in the moment, you're just doing the thing, but like, seems really stupid that he's like, no, now I'm responsible. Kill me instead. I don't know. That's just me. On top of that, the Rancor plot's kind of whatever. I don't think anyone ever thought that he was going to be able to make a life on Earth. That didn't seem like it was feasible. So the fact that it's so stupid the way that it comes out is just like, yeah, there's just a crazy weird vampire looking lady in this apartment and then you're forced to fight. I guess it works just as much as any other way, but it's still kind of like, all right, well, just a way to wrap up the plot as soon as we needed them to get back into space. So, I don't know. Overall, it just kind of felt like a weak issue, and I think it mainly comes down to, as I've said in earlier tie-ins to Wrath of the First Lantern, the formula is done. We've seen this, they're showing a life that they could have had, and whether they accept it or not is all up to that. Like, I don't care anymore. Show me why the First Lantern is a threat. Now that he has his full power level back, according to him, he's fully able to warp reality to his whims. Show me what that means. Show me why this is the big bad. Because as it stands now, he's just a what-if machine, and I don't feel like anything he does has any real weight to it besides just, ooh, look at what could have been. So overall, I'll give this one like I'll give it a 6.5. It just was I don't really care for anything going on, but I can recognize that it is at least forwarding the plot and doing something interesting, but whatever.